Oh, hello. I can't even talk. I'm so excited to be with you guys this morning. I hope you guys are doing well, and thanks so much for tuning into Mandolin Mornings. It's been a nice week so far. I hope you guys have, been enjoying the mandolin at home and, been picking some tunes. We had a nice weekend off. Me and Tabitha went away for a little bit and took a little break, so thanks for your patience while we were gone. I hope you guys were still enjoying mandolin, still playing some tunes on Saturday mornings, and here we are back again for another session. I'm excited. I hope everything's coming through loud and clear for you guys. And we'll be covering a lot today. We'll be checking out some stuff that's been going on around the mandolin world these days online, and we'll be playing some tunes together. We'll be talking a lot about music theory and mandolin technique. I've already got some great questions from some folks about like dominant chords, how to approach arpeggios. We've been talking a lot about that on YouTube recently as well. But let's just dive right into it. Here's what's been going on Mandolin Weekly. So if we check out over on Patreon, we've had some new stuff happening recently. I've been sharing some transcriptions from one of my records, The Golden Angle, and we looked at this interesting tune called 8 is My Favorite Color. That's kind of a weird title. It has a funny backstory. Basically, I just write down all these little phrases that our bass player Nate says in the band Mile 12 because he's just full of these really interesting bits of randomness and nonsense. And one day he said something like this, and I thought, that'd be a good tune. That'd be a good tune title, right? And here it is. If you're interested, you can check it out. It's available for the Huckleberry Hornpipe tiers and up. And then the main thing we've been looking at here is the Snowflake Reel. I hope you guys have been enjoying this tune because it is a weird one, right? There's a lot going on in this one, both melodically and harmonically, and I did my best to try to break things down, looking at some scale analysis and some modes and some arpeggios to give you some information and some vocabulary to use whenever you want to improvise over a tune like this, because it's a great tune to improvise over. So hopefully you've been enjoying that, enjoying the play-alongs for this track here. Another interesting thing we've been doing recently, I've just released this new exclusive line of Patreon swag. So if you're at the Huckleberry Hornpipe tier or above, you'll be getting some new stuff in the mail in about 3 months. It's kind of a loyalty program, so if you stay on for 3 more months, you'll get a sticker or a mug and some other stuff coming soon. And other than that, we've just been looking at how to change strings. We've been looking at some accessories. I hope you guys have been enjoying all the stuff on the Patreon site. There's a link in the description below if you want to find out more information. And shout out to all of you patrons who are here this morning. It's great to be with you guys. I hope you guys are doing really well. And beyond that though, there's been a lot of stuff going on recently in the mandolin world. First, I just want to share a new discovery with you guys. I just recently discovered this band, Country Gong Bang. I don't know if you've heard about them, but they're a South Korean bluegrass band that really packs a punch. They're really amazing musicians. Every one of them sounds great on their instruments, great vocals, great original music, and they've got like a real sense of tradition, but they're doing their own thing as well. It's just so cool to see that there's bluegrass music happening all over the world. I had no idea that there was bluegrass in South Korea. And we've gotten to do some different stuff with Mile 12. Like we got to go to Japan, which is amazing, and we've been to France, which was beautiful, and we've been to Ireland and England. And shout out to any of you folks who are out there today coming from those areas. We just loved our visits there, and we're looking forward to getting back to going around the world and seeing more bluegrass acts from different countries as soon as we can. So check out Country Gong Bang if you're interested in hearing some really great bluegrass. But in the mandolin specific world here, there's some really cool stuff happening, right? We've got this David Grisman mandolin workshop, Tone Poems with Dog. This is tomorrow, actually. It's happening at 1 to 2:30 p.m. Central Time. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I hope I can tune in here because David Grisman is such an inspiration, and it'll be fun just to hear him talk about tone poems. See here in the description it says, this is in pair with the Old Town School of Folk Music, and it's a unique workshop experience. David will highlight some of his main axes as well as some oddballs in his arsenal. He'll discuss their unique tonal qualities and demonstrate some of the songs and tunes associated with these instruments. So that's going to be a lot of fun. All of you guys know the Tone Poems records. David Grisman has an amazing arsenal of instruments, as they say here. It'll be fun just to hear him try a bunch of different stuff out. So check that out tomorrow at 1 p.m. Central. Also, another workshop that's coming up here in August, Alan Bybee's having his 6th annual mandolin, guitar, and bass camp. I believe this is near Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Let's see. So it's happening August 25th through 28th this year, in conjunction with the Ocean Lakes Bluegrass Festival. Sounds really fun. They haven't announced the instructor lineup yet, but of course Alan Bybee will be there, and Alan's such a hoss. You guys know his playing, and check that out for sure. More information on the Mandolin Cafe and on Alan Bybee's website. And lastly, Tablet Edit is back. How about that? We were just actually talking about this on my Discord chat hang with all the patrons over on Patreon, and you probably know Tablet Edit, right? Before I started using any other transcription notation software, I started using Tablet because it was like one of the premier sources of mandolin tablature online. You guys remember the Mandozine? That was a huge database of all these different arrangements that people had just shared for free that you could download and get both the transcription and kind of this XML play along track where you could hear what was actually written out and try to play along with it at different tempos. So I have been out of touch with this for the past few years, but apparently it's been back. So let's see, we have Larry Tanner, who's kind of the guy who's curating all this stuff, but he says Mandozine was hosting a wonderful collection of tablet files for mandolin, but as you're probably aware, it has not been reliable lately. The site went offline at the beginning of 2019, was restored in the summer of 2019. By fall, it was offline again. Don't know what happened in 2020, but I recently saw a message in the Mandolin Cafe forum that Mandozine was offline. Very sad about all that. But when it didn't look like Mandozine was coming back this time, I reached out to Scott at Mandolin Cafe about hosting the Tablet Edit files. I had all the files and the code for the search site since I was the author. Over the past couple weeks, I recreated the search interface here on the Mandolin Cafe. So what about that? Tablet Edit is now available on the Mandolin Cafe, and it seems like we'll be expanding the database, it says. So you can expect a lot of new stuff here on the Mandolin Cafe. The link is mandolincafe.com/TE, and it sends you over to this Tablet Edit search function. So that's going to be a great resource. Definitely check that out. We were talking a lot about just transcription notation and software, and this seems to be like a really good option for folks who are just getting started. If anyone's interested, I use a software called Finale, which is a little bit more expensive. I think I ended up paying about like $300 for it or something like that. And it's a great notation software. It's not really mandolin or fretted instrument specific, so you're paying for a lot of features that you don't necessarily need if you're just writing out mandolin solos or you're writing out melodies for your band or whatever. But it is a great program. Other people use Sibelius, which is a pretty popular program. But Joshua was telling me, a patron over on Patreon was telling me about this great resource called MuseScore, which is a free notation software as well. If you're just getting your toes wet and want to try writing some stuff out, that would be a really great option. That does have some mandolin tablature options. I think it's a little bit involved to kind of figure out how to get the mandolin tablature up there, but that could be a great resource that you don't have to pay any money up front for. And then another one that I'd recommend is Guitar Pro, which is a $70 program that a lot of people use these days. Like Lessons with Marcel uses this, Eli Gilbert Banjo uses this. They do have mandolin features on that program as well, so definitely check that out if you're interested. But yeah, Tablet, it's free, so it's a huge bonus there. I'm really excited about that resource being available to folks again. So anyways, that's what's been happening here in the mandolin world. I hope you guys have been keeping up to date with everything. Let me know if I've been missing anything too. Let me know in the comments here if you've been hearing about anything else that's been going on. Catching up with some comments here. And Neil, thank you so much for the tip. That's very generous of you. Happy Saturday to you as well. And it's so great to hear from all of you coming from different places around the world, as always. It kind of brings joy to my heart knowing that there's mandolin players all over the world tuning into this thing. So it's glad to have you with us here. And maybe just to dive right in, we could answer some questions. If you have any questions about stuff that we've been working on Patreon or over on YouTube, feel free to let me know. And drop a line here if there's something even that you've discovered in your own practice sessions that you want to talk about together with the group here. And I just want to come back up to James's question at the beginning of the stream here. James asking, can you talk a little bit about dominant chords? I can't quite get my head around them and why they differ from non-dominants. I'm probably overthinking. I don't know. It is really confusing at first, James. I don't know. It's just is so interesting how like the dominant sound is very unique and it's very specific, and it's very important that you play the dominant arpeggio or the dominant chord on a specific chord in a song. So let me just run you through my thought process on this. The dominant chord is special. There's actually only one chord per key that has a dominant seventh sound. And what I try to do is associate that sound with the 5 chord on a scale, or in a key, I should say. So if you're playing in the good old key of G here, your G chord is the first chord on the scale. So people call that the 1 chord, since it's the name of the key. It's the first note on the scale, so the first chord in the key as well. And if you keep counting up your scale, like G, A is 2, B is 3, C is 4, D would be 5, and we have a D major chord for our 5 chord in the key of G. And that little old 5 chord is the tricky one that gets the dominant sound in the key of G. All the other chords don't get a dominant chord sound. Even the other major chords in the key, like G major or C major, they don't get a dominant 7th arpeggio or dominant 7th chord. It's just that one D chord. So if you add that dominant 7th in there, you can kind of hear that tension. You can hear that pull that wants some resolution to come back to the 1 chord. I talk about this a lot with my students, how there's this cool thing you can see in classical music, like Beethoven symphonies, at the very end of the final movement of the symphony, to bring things home and to have this like really kind of exaggerated ending. A lot of times composers like Beethoven would do this, where they go from the 5 chord to the 1. Something like that, where they're just reiterating that relationship between the 5 and the 1, the 5 and the 1. And the dominant is really an extra part of that 5 chord that can add a little extra tension and a little extra pull to want that resolution back to the 1 chord. So that's at a very basic level where the dominant comes in. If you think, okay, like I'm in a new key now, how about like the key of C major, for instance? Well, out of all the chords in the key of C major, there's only going to be 1 chord that has the dominant sound. And again, it's that 5th chord on your scale. So you count up C, E, G. Sorry, I'm not even knowing my alphabet here. So it's C, D, E, F, G. G is the 5th note on the scale here. And that's going to be our 5 chord, the root of our 5 chord, G major. So now we'd have a dominant G, a G7, that would pull us back to the 1 chord, and this key which is C. Same sound, new key center. It's weird how, it's the same relationship, even though we're using different notes or we're using different chords to get that similar sound. So keep that in mind. The 5 chord is the dominant chord out of any major key out there. You can just count up the scale and figure it out that way. That would be the place to start, but then sometimes you might find some dominant chords outside of the key that you find in a song. Like one of the classic examples is that tune Salty Dog, right? Salty Dog Blues. A lot of people play it where it's like, I won't sing it, but it's like in the key of G. They start off with a G chord, and they go to an E dominant chord. And then they might go to A dominant chord after that. And then the song goes to a D dominant chord, back to G. That's really crazy because, like I said earlier, there's usually only 1 dominant chord per key that you're in, but this song has 3 in a row, and they're all different. And what's happening is you're actually changing keys within the song itself. For those split seconds where you're having these different dominant chords, you have to think in a totally different key center altogether. So when you get to that E7 chord, E7 doesn't fit in the key of G because we talked about earlier, the key of G, there's only 1 dominant, it's the D dominant. So I almost have to think, okay, like what key is E dominant the 5 chord of, if that makes sense? Or I can like start with E as my 5 and count back down. So if I count down from E, then I have D, then I have C, B, A. Okay, like A major is the mother key of E dominant 7. So I'm thinking in the key of A major for this split second when I have this E dominant chord there. And then when I go to the next dominant chord, we're coming down to A7. It's like, it almost feels like we're resolving to the 1 chord in the key of A, but now instead of getting just a normal A major chord, we're kind of tricked because now we have another dominant chord. We're taking the root chord of the key of A and making this a dominant, which means that we're in a different key altogether as well. So it's like, okay, A dominant, what's A dominant the 5 chord of? So count down. Here we have A, G, F, E, D. Okay, D major is the mother key of A dominant. And then as soon as we play this A7 chord, we're tricked again because now we have one more dominant chord. We have this D dominant 7th, which is the 5 of G major, right? Which brings us back to the mother key that we started in, that very key that we started with. So lots going on there, but that's what I have to think about. It's like what mother key is that 5 chord related to? That gives me the information I need to know to find the scales that I'm working with, to find the melody notes that might work in this particular point whenever I play over this tune and improvise. And yeah, it's the circle of fifths, like William Cooper is saying here, or circle of fourths even. It just depends on which way you're going around that circle, but it's related to the root movement of a fourth idea, that 5 to 1, 5 to 1. Something about that just resonates with us in a really impactful way. Something about Western music has just trained our ears to really love that sound and to feel like that's one of the strongest sounds that we can get here. So great question, James. I hope that helps you on your way. And yeah, I'd say keep an eye out for the 5 chords in particular. That's going to be your dominant. But then if you find a dominant chord that isn't the 5 chord of the key that you started with, that's a red flag to be like, oh, okay, I probably am in a different key for a minute here. I have to figure out what key I'm in and then figure out how it gets back to the original key that we started in. A brief overview, but this deserves a full video lesson in and of itself, and I'm going to add this to the list of things to cover on YouTube eventually. That'll be a really good topic here. All right, so here we go. Let's catch up with some other questions here. Long live the Mandolin. Yes, indeed. It will be missed for sure. So Banjo Ben's here. He says, do you know how many of these programs are able to use other files? That's a good question. I don't specifically. I know Finale does use some XML, but it actually saves most of the stuff as a MUSX file, I believe, which I'm not too up to date about all the differences between all those different ones. I know Sibelius, is a little bit different as well. I don't know about Guitar Pro either, but maybe someone here can let us know if you guys have any ideas about the different file formats, because that is frustrating. Because not all these programs are interchangeable. Like the files that you have on Finale may not work with another program, or vice versa. So yeah, they really get you that way. It's like once you get sucked into one of these programs, you kind of have to stick with it if you've made all these files in that particular format. A little bit frustrating. It's kind of like like iPhones or Apple software, which I'm hooked on here as well. But yeah, good question. I'll have to do some more research. I've been thinking about maybe doing a really nerdy video that analyzes a lot of different notation software like MuseScore, Guitar Pro, Finale, and Sibelius, and analyzing what are the pros and cons for mandolin players in particular about each of these programs. Like what would be easiest to use, and I might end up changing things as well. I've been meaning to do more on Guitar Pro just because I've heard such great things about it. I've only kind of played around with it a little bit though. What do you use, Ben? I'd be curious to hear what you guys use for the site as well. All your notation looks incredible. Let's see here. John Reichert says Swanano Gathering was canceled, but they're trying an online thing. Yeah, sad about that. I know there's going to be a lot of festivals and workshops canceled this year as well. It seems like we're waiting for the fall at the earliest, but who knows? It might not be till 2022 that things really pick up. William says, Banjo Ben is in the house. Great teacher. He is indeed a great guy as well. Let's see. Robert Shorhill says, I'd still like to take on the Silver Spire someday. Yeah, that's a great tune as well. We're listening to a little bit of Irish music at the beginning of the stream here. That was a couple of jigs that I wrote for my first record, Into the True Country. And I used to play with a Celtic band back here in South Carolina when I was first getting started out. And I love that tune, the Silver Spire. It's been a little while since I played it. But whenever we're over in Northern Ireland, we have a friend who's like a fiddle champion, has won like all Ireland before, and he loves that tune, plays it so well. We get to hang out with him and play with him as well. Well, great. Keep all the keep all the stuff coming. And if you have any other questions, let me know. But let's take a transition here in the stream to play some tunes together. So you guys know what time it is. It's tune time. I thought maybe we'd start out with this classic here that we'll be looking at on the site before too long. I don't have the transcription available just now, but just be on the lookout for this one in the future. But I thought I'd share an older transcription of this one that I have here for us today, Soldier's Joy, right? It's one of those tunes that's so classic. Yeah, and I thought it'd just be fun to kind of to play along with it. If you have your mandolins, you guys know how this works. Unfortunately, we can't like hear each other, but we'll be playing together in spirit and in internet. I'm gonna pull up my handy dandy metronome here and see if we got some good tempo markings for this one. We'll just take this one nice and easy, see how it feels. By the way, if you haven't played this tune before, it's just a 3-chord tune. We're in the key of D here, so the 3 chords are D major and A major for the A section here. And then when you get to that B section, we're adding in a G chord as well. Just your 2-finger G chord. I like using these open chords. That's something I say a lot because they have such a full sound, and especially like when you're playing one-on-one, mandolin on mandolin, it offers a lot more harmonic support to what the other player's doing. So if you want to play open chords to accompany me, you're more than welcome to, or you can play chop chords and work on anything that you feel like needs the most attention. Unfortunately, with all the jams not really happening, this is this is really what we need. Just the time together to try some stuff out and see what works in a real setting. Even though it's virtual, it's still real, right? So let's pull up maybe we'll do like 70 beats per minute with the click on the half beat here, something like that. Not too fast. There it is. Like that. I might be playing some different stuff than the transcription. You're welcome to read along or play the version of the melody that you know as well. But we'll just go back and forth a few times. I'll start us off, then I'll play the chords, let you take a turn, and we'll maybe play a couple more times around, and then we'll play the melody together. So here we go. I'll play some potatoes for us to begin. Here we go. All right, your turn. To the A chord, back to D. Click A, back to D. Whoops, something like that. Click A, back to D. We have a D, going to a G chord, D, A, D, G, D, A, G. All right, let me have a go here. go yourself. Onto the B section here. All right, let's try the melody together. There we go. Nice work, folks. Soldier's Joy. Well, let's just come back here and dissect a little bit about stuff that's going on here. If you had any questions about that tune, let me know in the chat here. But yeah, in the key of D, thinking about that dominant idea, James, as well, just for some application. That A chord is the 5 chord in the key of D. You know, just counting up the scale D, E, F sharp, G, A. So if you're playing like an arpeggio over that particular chord, you probably want it to be an A dominant 7 arpeggio. And the difference between like a major 7 arpeggio and a dominant 7 arpeggio is just the 7th. You know, the 3 primary notes of the triad are similar, right? It's a major chord, but the dominant 7th is basically 2 frets beneath the high root. So you'd be playing a G natural here instead of a major 7, which would have a G sharp, which definitely sounds kind of different and a little bit more jazzy and poppy, but it actually doesn't even fit in this key altogether because D major doesn't even have a G sharp in our key signature. So that's the primary reason why we're using a dominant arpeggio here instead of, you know, a major 7 or another type of arpeggio, because the key signature in the scale is really what dictates all the notes within a particular key. So if you can think, oh, okay, I'm playing in my D major scale here. If I know my D major scale really well, I don't have to worry about the notes in the cracks too much unless I'm, you know, trying something chromatic or going off the wall and doing some weird stuff, which I'm a big fan of as well. But so this tune is great for thinking about arpeggios in particular. That's something that we looked at over on the Patreon site recently with the snowflake reel. In fact, like, that's a great exercise. If you can arpeggiate the chord changes of a song in time with the chord progression, then chances are you're going to know your target notes a lot better when you're improvising. Or even like you're going to know how to change up the melody with another note that sounds really good with the chord that's being played at that given point in time. It's weird, you know, just like you want to play the right chords at the right time as if you're playing along with the chord progression. Same idea when you're improvising. You want to play the corresponding notes to those chords at the correct time to link up with those chords. So yeah, check that out. And if you want to, you know, trying to arpeggiate along with the chord changes could be a good idea, just like we did with Snowflake Reel. So you could do something like this, where maybe you're playing a D major 7 every time you play your D major chord, doing something like this. That's a great D major 7 arpeggio, like your open D string, your F sharp 4th fret on the D string, open A, 4th fret on the A string. Then you can play another high D on the 5th fret of the A string. Cool thing about this arpeggio is it lasts an entire measure. So by the time you go up and down this arpeggio, a whole measure is passed. And by the time you play that low root again, it's the downbeat of the next measure. So you can think, oh, I've got like 3 measures of D here in the A section, right? I could do like a 3 D major 7 arpeggios. And then on that fourth measure, we switch to that A dominant 7 arpeggio. Back to D. Quick D, quick A, and then back to D again, right? And the cool thing is, like, even though I'm just playing single notes, I can really hear the harmony laid out in that group of notes in a way that if I'm just kind of playing up and down the scale, it doesn't have the same effect. So that's really helpful, especially if like you're trying to improvise over this tune. You might think, okay, like the D major 7 notes, those arpeggio notes are kind of the notes I want to make the most of if I was improvising something new. Like and then when I get to that A chord, I want to emphasize those notes that are in my A dominant 7 arpeggio by playing those on like the really important beats of the measure, like beats 1 and beats 3. So that's where the arpeggios come really in handy. It's like they're showing you like the most important notes that you might want to start or end a melodic phrase on when you're improvising. And the hard part is just remembering what the arpeggios are and making sure you're playing the right arpeggio at the right time to link up with the right chords. So the best way to do this is just to practice the arpeggios in time with the music. So that way you're always playing those arpeggio notes for the correct chord here. I know a lot of jazz players do this. Even like I've heard stuff about the really progressive saxophone player Ornette Coleman. He does all that free jazz stuff. He was like such a pioneer of uncharted territory as far as improv goes, where you don't have any boundaries really or any structure. You're not worried about arpeggios and stuff like this. But before a gig, I hear he'd still warm up by arpeggiating the chord changes to classic jazz standards. Even someone like him who's so forward thinking had such a respect for the rules and such a respect for how things work that he spent a lot of time doing this. So obviously we're not playing free jazz, we're not playing jazz at all, but for bluegrass it's the same idea. You want to see how you can use these music theory principles and rules to help you play the melody better, help you play a variation better, or help you make an improvisation around the melody better too. So I hope that helps. And also this tune is really fun too for doing like different octaves. I was trying to hint at the B section a little bit down the octave here on the D string. Like that. Really nice. It fits perfectly within a lower octave in the first position. If you wanted to, you could probably do like the A section up an octave higher up the neck. I didn't even think of that. Maybe to avoid shifting up any higher, I'd change the last phrase of the melody to fit within that position a bit better. But yeah, some fun ideas. Those are my general approaches whenever I come to a fiddle tune. I'll try like arpeggiating the chord changes, and I'll try to learn the melody in a couple different octaves or a couple places on the necks here. So yeah, I'd say that if you do that with a tune, you're gonna have a much more thorough understanding of what's going on. You're gonna feel a little bit more comfortable trying new stuff, or even just like having an open mind when you come to a new tune, seeing okay, what happens. I can like react to my mistakes and change things up as I want to, because I have the freedom, I have the knowledge to do so. But yeah, let's see. Sorry, I'll catch up with the comments here. Banjo Ben, it's great to have you. Thanks so much for coming by. It's great. Check out Banjo Ben stuff. It's just incredible. I've picked up so much from him and been really inspired by his videos for sure. So William Cooper says, great idea. Arpeggiate song changes. Can also teach those transition notes from a change to the next. That's right, yeah. So even in this tune here, just having to go from like an F sharp to an A when you change from the D major arpeggio to the A dominant arpeggio. It's just, yeah, it gets you thinking in different areas and seeing how those notes connect in ways you may not have played before. So I can't recommend it enough. Very close to the Stranger Things arpeggio. Yeah, that's a good point, Shaun of the Dead. That's an awesome show. I wonder when the new season's coming out. So Bob says, Magnus claims a good way to really learn a tune is to tackle it from reverse order. Take the last measure, work toward the beginning measure. Any comment on this theory? Thanks. Oh yeah, I've never actually done that before, but I can see the value of it, because if you start a song from the beginning and you just learn it where you're always starting at the beginning, probably the front half of the song is going to be a lot more thoroughly learned than the back half. I would think maybe the danger if you start on the back and always play it backwards, then the same would be true of the back end. You would probably just learn the back end well, the front end wouldn't be as good. But obviously, if you're playing it a lot, you're going to be starting off at the beginning. So that might be like a thorough way of kind of making up the difference there. Because I think especially with longer form pieces, like whenever I've tried classical music or tried to learn a choro piece, I definitely know that the beginning of the tune is going to be a lot more solid than the end of the tune, which is frustrating because if you're trying to get a good recording of it or perform it, you get more anxious as the song goes on because you're like, oh snap, the hard part's coming up here. I hope I better, hang on for dear life. I hope this goes well. So yeah, I'd say that's really important. Just trying to think of where the trouble spots are and focusing on those instead of just, taking the cheap option, which is just play through the entire tune from start to finish every time you play. Because that's never going to be as effective as finding your trouble spots and focusing on those, making sure that you have those things ironed out before you give it a run through. I try to reserve a run through of a piece to the end of my practice session. Basically like if I have 15 minutes to work on Soldier's Joy, I'll probably come back and work on some trouble spots first that I don't feel as comfortable with. Like I'll maybe learn that octave melody and the lower octave a little bit better for the B section, a little bit better in the higher octave first, since I already know the normal melody pretty well. If you're just practicing stuff that you can already do, then you're not going to be really progressing in the same way as if you're pushing yourself to try those tougher things. And then, trying to be really thorough about it too. Like even within the lower octave, maybe I realize, okay, the turnaround phrase is really what's giving me the most trouble. I'm just going to repeat these two measures again and again and again until I can play it 3 or 4 times in a row without making a mistake. And then zooming back out and seeing if I can stitch it back together with the whole piece. Take Magnus's approach, see how that works for you. And I just say, try to be as analytical as possible and be as honest with yourself as possible, because sometimes we can just breeze over mistakes again and again and let things slide in a way that's not very helpful. So, if you can find those trouble spots, get a pen, mark up your transcription, or just make a mental note about it. Try to review that before you do anything else. And as soon as you can get it right and get it right a few times in a row, that's when you can go back and see how it fits within the big picture of the song. But yeah, great question, Bob. I love Magnus's stuff too, man. He's an incredible mandolin player, such a great educator as well. So let's see here. Traditional approach to leaving a piano piece. My classical teacher recommended that. Oh, cool. Nice. I'm glad it kind of links up with some other pedagogical ideas. I'm not sure. I feel like most of the stuff I've just kind of picked up from trial and error. So I'm glad to hear that other people are thinking about things similarly. So James says, I heard the same thing with Ewan Bleach, a great jazz musician. He does New Orleans style jazz sing-alongs on YouTube every Sunday, which makes great play-alongs. That's really cool. I'll have to check that out. I've been slacking on the jazz and the swing recently. I only kind of dabbled a little bit in college and spent some time learning some standards here and there, but it's just a whole different ball game, right? I need to get better at it for sure. All right, well, keep all the stuff coming here. Why don't we take another spin around a tune here? And if you have any more questions about Soldier's Joy or about any other tunes, let me know here. But here, let's see what we got. So for another tune here, let me sort through the catalog, see what we're doing here. Oh, by the way, I saw a question earlier about where these transcriptions came from, and these are all transcriptions that I've made over the years. This one for Soldier's Joy is quite an old one that I've been using for online lessons for the past decade, so it might be a little bit outdated. But yeah, a lot of the other stuff that you see here on streams are available over on Patreon, which if you're not a member of, you can check it out in the link in the description below. And if any of these transcriptions aren't on Patreon yet, just hang tight, because they will be for sure before too long. But here's one that we have had on the site before. Apologies about the little clipping of the margins there, but this is such a great tune. I hope you guys have been enjoying this one. I posted this one last year, a few months ago, and yeah, it's just one of the most beautiful melodies I think ever. It's written by this guy Gary Harrison, who unfortunately passed away, but he's written a bunch of great tunes you should check out for sure. But this is a tune in the key of A major here. We'll be looking at 4 different chords. Here we have A major. If you want a really nice simple one, just use this 2-note version where you're holding down like either your index or your index in your middle on the 2nd fret of the G and the D strings. And then you have your open A and open E. I always think of the fox from Nickel Creek. That's the chord that Cathedral uses, I think. Pretty fun. And then we have your open D chord again. We have your E chord, which might be new. And this is a voicing that I like to use. It's 4, 2, 2, open. So 4th fret on the G string. I'm barring down with my middle finger on the 2nd fret of the D and the A strings. And then you have your open E string as well. So those are the 3 primary chords. And then we have an F sharp minor in the B section, which is a little bit tricky. If you've never played this before, here's one that I kind of like to use. It seems harder than it is, but it's not too bad, actually. The fret numbers are 6, 4, open, and 2. And it's actually similar to the minor chop chord shape. If you think of like G minor here, and it's quite a stretch with your index finger on the 1st fret. If you move that whole shape down 1 fret, now play your open A string and readjust your fingers to not have to use your pinky, then voila, you've got the F sharp minor chord shape. So that could be a good one to check out if you're interested. But we'll do the same thing here. How about we maybe play this one just a tad bit faster? I'll bump this up to maybe around 80 beats per minute. And apologies, I know I'm not like a metronomic player. I just kind of use this as a reference. But all good music has a little bit of ebb and flow to it. At least that's what I tell myself. But we should talk about some metronome ideas as well, because it's something I'm pretty passionate about, trying to get better at training my own metronomic sense of time, because I know that's a weakness for me. But for now, let's just try it out here. Something like that. If you're ready, I'll start us off here, and yeah, we'll play through it a few more times, just like we did Soldier's Joy here. We'll let you take a couple solos. I might try one as well. Such a beautiful melody. It's hard to like change this one up just because I know anything that I come up with won't be as good as the actual melody itself, so I might stick close to the melody for this one, but it goes something like this. Here we go. Your turn. So you have A to D, back to A, quick E, A, D, A, D, A. Then we have the F sharp minor in the B section, D, A, quick E, F sharp minor, D, A. You got it. All right, here we go. right, if you're ready, let's try the melody together here. Here we go. Lovely. Such a beautiful tune, right? I just can't get enough of that one. So that F sharp minor, if people are asking about that one here, I know it might be a little bit different than some people play it. I've also seen people might use this 3-note shape, 2, 4, 4 on the G, D, and A strings. Maybe even just mute the E string to not have to worry about it if you want to. That might be a little bit easier, but the voicing that I was using, is 6, 4, open, 2. And it's almost like a chop chord, but we do have that open A string ringing out. So if you're using this as a chop shape, you might have to like mute the 4 strings with your pinky, since you're not using your 4th finger on this shape here. Something like that, yeah. But whatever shape you're using, just the chord progression and the melody works so beautifully together. I hope you guys enjoyed that one here. Let's see. Catching up with a few other comments here. Uncle Bobby, thank you so much for your generous donation. You're such a steady patron. I really appreciate it. Shoro, yeah, that's a good question. I've only learned maybe about 3 Shoros, and I've worked up a couple for like some Mandolin Monday videos. Unfortunately, like I can't even play them anymore. You know, that's that was the bad thing about Mandolin Mondays. I felt like I was pushing myself to really to have to learn a new song every week. So I would just work it up good enough to get like one good take, and then I would never play it again. So I've lost, you know, the facility for a lot of those arrangements. I'll have to go back and learn some of them. But I did work up, there's this cool tune called Brigero, which you can hear Mike Marshall do with Hamilton de Holanda, who's like, you know, one of the best mandolin players in the world. He plays one of those 10-string mandolins. He lives in Brazil. And then I also worked up one called Diabina de Molucca, I believe. And Mike Marshall also did that one too. He and Katarina have a version of that one on their most recent duo record. It's called Third Journey. Really great version of that too. But the one to listen to is just the Jacob de Mandolin version. It's incredible. It's like I don't know, how did he think of all this stuff back in the day when no one else was doing all this? What an amazing personality and musician. So yeah, check that out. I've got the transcriptions available for both of those on Patreon as well. I think you could search for them in the search bar over on Patreon. They should pop up. But I need to do more. Honestly, it's such a challenge to learn those tunes because they're much longer forms than bluegrass songs. They usually have 3 or 4 different parts, and each part is, you know, at least twice as long as the other parts. They're just so harmonically complex. You know, we were talking about dominant chords a little bit. Those tunes have tons of dominants that don't fit within the original key, and you end up transposing from one key to the next. Sometimes you go from like G minor to G major. That's like what Brigero does. Really complex stuff that is pretty fun checking out. Yeah, I'll add that to the list, Bobby. That would be a good thing for me to do, honestly. I'll add it to my practice docket. So Speedboat Aquatics says, is it smart to try and get lessons? And I'd say, yeah. I mean, I still take lessons from time to time. I wish I had more time for it, honestly, because I feel like whenever I meet with someone and get their opinion about stuff, I always walk away with a broader horizon about how I approach this instrument or approach music in general. I've gone to college for music, which has been really informative as well, taken a lot of classes. Just as an ongoing learner, I think it's important to get some one-on-one feedback for someone who knows your instrument, knows what you're after, and can help you along your way. I've taken a lot of lessons from Matt Flinner, who's a great teacher. I think he's doing like a lot of online classes now, and I've also taken from folks like Mike Marshall, who's been really great. I've taken from Mike Compton, who's been awesome. I've taken from Jacob Jolliffe, who's an incredible musical mind. Just spending an hour with him has been really stretching here and there. I need to get back together with him to work on some stuff. He's the one who's showing me these crazy like position arpeggios that I'm still trying to figure out. Finding ways around the fretboard. He's just such the master at that. So yeah, I definitely recommend it. Nate Lee is a fantastic teacher. He's got a website called Teach Nately, I believe, or he's got a really great resource that you should check out. I also teach private online lessons on Zoom. If you're interested, you can find out more information on my website, davidbenedictmandolin.com. Been meeting with a lot more folks actually since the pandemic, and I've been really enjoying that. I feel pretty honored to get to help people along their journey with the mandolin, because it's something I feel really really strongly about myself. I want to keep learning, I want to keep progressing, and I want to help other people have that goal as well, and meet those goals as well. So definitely recommend it. There's tons of great resources now, even just if you want to sign up for Artist Works, that's Mike Marshall's platform, or Peghead Nation, or any of the amazing Patreon pages out there, excluding mine. You can think of Sierra Hull has one, Mando Lessons, Baron Colin Hill has one, and Tristan Scroggins has one. I think there might be even a few more as well. And if you're interested in what I do, you can check out my Patreon page as well. And we even do video exchanges. If you're not wanting to meet on Zoom, you can send me a video and I'll send you a video back with some feedback, all sorts of stuff like that. But shameless plug. But yeah, definitely check out a teacher. It can be super helpful. But it does depend on your goal. It depends on your teacher as well. Like Tron of the Dead is saying. Depends on the budget as well. I know it's tough to find money for stuff like that during the pandemic right now, but it can be a really rewarding and fulfilling thing, especially when we have all this stuff here. Oh, Play Nately. Yeah, thank you, Connie. I apologize for messing up the title of Nate Lee's website there. I was just checking it out recently. I didn't realize he was building this really expansive database. It's pretty cool. So check him out. He's such a nice guy, an incredible teacher. I've picked up a lot of stuff from him. Banjo Ben, yeah, of course. How could I forget? So definitely worth your while. But while we're still here, I'd love to keep hearing from your questions. Keep them coming. We'll maybe do one more tune here to finish up our time. And if you have any requests for future tunes to look at on the site, I'm always open. I've got the next couple months kind of planned out here. We did a big poll on Patreon and on YouTube, and you guys spoke. I think we got a few hundred votes for different tunes, which is pretty awesome. And the winner by far was Big Scioto, which hopefully will be coming up in the next week or two here. And then we've also got a lesson planned for Chinkapin Hunting, which is a fantastic tune. That was, I think, the runner-up on our poll. And Angeline the Baker was also a really high wanted one, and great demand. That's such a great tune as well. It's like a classic, but you can't really beat it, honestly. But yeah, lots of other stuff. I've got some kind of basic vocal standard approaches that I'll be going through as well. One for 9 Pound Hammer, one for the song I'm a Pilgrim, which is off of that Tone Poems record that David Grisman did that we were talking about earlier. And then a couple maybe lesser known ones like Midnight on the Water, Beautiful Waltz, and this tune called Elzic's Farewell, which is going to be a lot of fun too. That'll be kind of a lesser known one, but definitely one that's worthwhile knowing. I think it's got a similar backstory to the Hangman's Reel. Actually, it's about this guy, this outlaw who's about to be led to the noose, and they give him a fiddle for his request to play one last song, and he composed this tune apparently. So pretty dark stuff, but no, it's a great sounding tune. Mike Marshall also does this with Katerina on that Third Journey record. Really worthwhile checking out. So anyways, let me know if you have any requests. We'll definitely add it to the list of stuff coming up here. We've been looking at a tune pretty much every week this year, which is it's been kind of fun, just upping up the just the volume and the consistency over on YouTube and Patreon. So we'll get stuff lined up, and hopefully we'll have 52 lesson videos of repertoire alone over on YouTube and Patreon this year. That's my goal, as well as a bunch of other stuff like I said, we've been looking at string changing, we've been looking at accessories. We got a pick comparison video that's in the works. My apologies for the delay on that one, but that one's coming along really well. I'm excited to share the results of that one. And yeah, I'd love to hear from you. But let's maybe pick one more tune here. We'll scroll down to our new hero, the Snowflake Reel. This has been a really fun one to play and to figure out a little bit more of recently. I played this a few times in the past, but I felt like this was going to be a good excuse for me to dig deeper into this one. So that lesson video I shared this week is really just my exploration over the past couple weeks for this tune. And I thought we'd just have a chance to play through a little bit slower together so you can try it out. If you want to play those arpeggios that we looked at in the video as well, you're more than welcome to. We're kind of playing 2 octave arpeggios for most of the chords here. We have D major 7 and A dominant 7. And then we also have that weird B flat chord and the B section here, which you can do a B flat major 7 arpeggio there if you want to. But if you want to play the melody, if you know the melody, that's fantastic too. And if you know all that, if you know the scales, the arpeggios, the chords, the melody, then take a break on this one. I encourage you to try it out, especially for that juicy 2 measures where the B flat chord pops in and you have to think in a different key. And if you haven't seen the video, basically the way my mind works for those 2 measures is I'm kind of switching gears to B flat Lydian, which is it's a key signature with 1 flat. It's kind of like F major, but you're starting and ending on B flat. And that's the framework that I'm working with. And I'm just kind of choosing notes within that scale and maybe along that B flat major 7 arpeggio to come up with something that hopefully sounds like it fits with what's going on there. But it's so jarring, like when you come to that chord. I know it's a little bit tricky, but yeah, we'll just try this one out here. Otherwise, it's just D, A, and then we have that B flat chord and the B section. The melody is a little bit chromatic, but we'll just take it kind of slow to get our way through it. Maybe we'll try it at the same tempo we had Red Prairie Dawn. So about 80 beats per minute with the click on the half beat here. Let's try this out here. All right. Best of luck to us all. Here we go. All right. All right, here you go. So just D and A. Pretty simple. All right, the B section, here we have that B flat chord. Back to D, A, D, B flat. All right, let me try this out here. Wish me luck. Your turn. To the A chord. flat chord again. Oh. Back to D. D to the B flat. All right, let's try that melody together. There we go. What a wacky tune, right? Oh my word. Well, thanks for humoring me on that one. I hope you guys have been enjoying that tune. And again, you can get the PDF transcriptions for that one over on Patreon, or check out the video on YouTube, which has the transcription on screen if you want to check it out. But yeah, JL Price says the arpeggios really make that tune roll. You're so right. I feel like the melody itself is really based on arpeggios, and on that D major scale, it just runs up and down the arpeggios or the scale depending on where you are in the tune. So why not just take advantage of the arpeggios in other ways? That's what I was trying to do on my solo, is just kind of play up those different arpeggio 2-octave versions like we looked at in the video. So I hope you guys have been enjoying that too. That's just such a good approach to take to any other tune that you're working on here. Let's see what else we got here. It couldn't show me the things I couldn't figure out my own. Did he fire me or what? Let's see. Oh, I missed your previous comment here. Took lessons from the start of the mandolin teacher. Soon asked to play guitar. I said yes. And when I was with the other guys in the service, after 3 or 4 more lessons, he told me he couldn't show me things I couldn't figure out my own. I see. Yeah. It's tough. Like when you're taking from a guitar player in particular, like I was forced to take from a lot of guitar players and violin players early on, because I didn't know of any other mandolin players nearby, even though there were mandolin players. It just wasn't hanging out in the right circle. So I ended up having to figure out a lot of stuff on my own as well. So I know it's tough, like when you find some teachers who don't really know how to help you out in a way that's helpful. But yeah, I hope that these live streams and the videos have been helpful, and there's so many ways of learning now. There's ways of finding stuff out on your own, even if the people around you don't know where to find it. But anyways, let's see here. Song, would you consider a version of O Shenandoah? That's a great request. William, I think I should add that to the list as well. I'm gonna write that down here, because that's such a beautiful tune, right? There's I don't know if you've heard, there's this record that the Tony Rice unit put out called Unit of Measure, and Tony does this absolutely stunning version of Shenandoah that I'd recommend checking out for sure. And yeah, there's plenty of versions out there, but his in particular just really spoke to me. Really missing Tony these days. Been listening to a lot of his music. Tabitha and I actually released this video of a Gordon Lightfoot song that Tony did on a record with Norman Blake a long time ago. It's called I'm Not Saying, and you can check it out over on YouTube. It's under our name, the Foreign Landers, which is our band name together. And yeah, it was really fun working that up. We were just sending that out to Tony, thinking of him as we played it. But yeah, Shenandoah, that's a great request. Thanks so much, William. Let's see. Bobby says, for the B flat, can you use an A chord and slide up a fret? Yeah, that's a good way of thinking about it, Bobby. It's basically like it's like an A major 7, but you're shifting that entire arpeggio up by 1 fret, right? If you think about like the root note here, A on the 2nd fret of the G string, B flat is just that next fret up. So if you keep the distance between the note the same, and you just shift all the notes up on the arpeggio by 1 fret, then you should have the same type of arpeggio. So you can do maybe a closed position of the A major 7 here, shift that entire shape up 1 fret, and you've got a B flat major 7 as well. It just gets a little bit tricky like when you start using the open strings, because even though it works the same way, it doesn't work out the same way visually on the fretboard. So A major 7 with the open A looks like that, and then B flat major 7. I use my middle finger instead of my index finger on the root, so it's same notes, same idea, just a little bit different fingerings. But yeah, it's cool to see how like it's all so symmetrical like that, isn't it? Adaptive says, how do you know if you should arpeggio the straight major or dominant 7 version, just if it's the 5 chord? Yeah, that's kind of like the big indicator. If it's the 5 chord and a key, then you should use the dominant 7 arpeggio. But if you're encountering chords outside of the key, then that's a tricky part. Like it's almost like you have to follow your ear. For this B flat chord and the snowflake reel, it doesn't really sound as nice to me to play the dominant 7th there. Maybe you could if you wanted to, but it's just that A flat doesn't really work well with that starting key of D major. It just rubs really well. Rubs really strongly, I should say. Whereas like the A major, or the A natural, I should say, on the E string there, maybe fits a little bit better with the reference of D major as our starting and ending place for that tune. So that's why I chose to use like a B flat major 7 instead of dominant 7th here. Also, we mentioned we were using the Lydian scale, the Lydian mode, to improvise over that B flat chord, which has an A natural in there, which automatically informs the arpeggio you get for this chord. Basically, to get the arpeggio, you're taking the mother scale, so B flat Lydian here, and you're just taking every other note on that scale. So we'd have an A natural in there automatically, which would make it a B flat major 7. It's tough, like when you have all these different letters and numbers going on, isn't it? But yeah, definitely check that out. A couple other thoughts here. So Ray says he learned it as a Snowflake Breakdown by Wally Trogat. Yeah. I've heard it as that as well. I may mention in the video that there's a great recording of this tune under that name by Bobby Hicks under this cool record called Texas Crapshoot. You should definitely check out as well. And J.L. Price is mentioning Peter Ostrushka. Yeah, that's so true. I didn't mention that today, but I just found out this morning that Peter had passed away. Really sad about that. I never got to hear him play live or really got to know much of his music until recently. And I know he's just had a huge mark on the mandolin world and the mandolin community, and very sad to hear about his loss. So yeah, that would be fun, like learning some of his tunes or some of his interpretations of tunes and checking those out too. So we'll send that out to him as well. Well, I guess we're about wrapping up here for this week's Mandolin Mornings live streams. Oh man, there's so many alliterations going on this channel. I gotta keep it down, get a handle on all this stuff. But no, I hope you've been enjoying the live streams. We'll be back next week at 11 a.m. Eastern, Saturday. I guess it's March 5th, something like that. We'll be there, and we'll be doing the same thing here again. We'll be playing some more tunes. We'll be checking out some other ones, some new stuff we've been looking at on the channel. You can be sure to check out YouTube. Just be sure to subscribe for all the new videos that are coming your way every week. Mandolin Mondays happening every Monday. Got some really great guests coming up soon. I'm excited to share with you guys. And just stay in touch. Feel free to reach out on my website if you're interested in lessons, or check out what we have going on Patreon. It's been so fun getting to hang out with you guys on Discord and chat a bit more, get to know all you guys personally, and just doing these things as well. It's been really special. So thank you guys. Really appreciate all the support. I hope you guys are enjoying all the content. And until then, I'll look forward to seeing you guys soon.